As your final moments as students of Eastern Connecticut State University draw to a close, I am proud to present to you a man whose message will guide you from the campus out into the world. Please welcome Dr. Will Kine.
I'm hoping that the one thing that you remember after today, graduates, family, faculty, and friends, is that I was brief. And I will be that, because never in my wildest dreams did I think that the new motto for New England would be, come to Connecticut, get a tan. We call this summer where I live, but you may call it what you like, as long as you include the word hot. Graduates, don't go anywhere. I'll be right back to you in a minute. I want to talk to the parents for just a second. Put your hand up if this is your first child or guardian that is graduating from college. Put your hands up. Thank you. My dad had an 8th grade education. My mother graduated from high school. When I graduated from college, it was a big deal for them. I want those of you that are students to remember this, that while you can't wait to get out of here and go jamming and change the world or party, that for your parents and your guardians, this is a big deal. So when they want to take the 800th cheesy picture, stand there. And you smile. And you look like you're enjoying it. And if your aunt who's driven 500 miles wants to give you one more wet kiss, take it! Because you took the $100 she sent you when you had no money left. Since I spoke to you 4 years ago and gave you your freshman orientation charge, a few things in my life have changed. I have 2 more children now. That makes 4, but we found out what's causing it. So I think that'll probably be the end of that. My 4 children are young enough, parents, that they still think that I'm a hero. Remember that? I'll give you a second. Well, 3 of them think I'm a hero. The 10-year-old said to me the other day, Daddy, what's 7 and 6? I said, that's 13, honey. She said, thank you. Turned to my wife. Is he right? That kind of bothered me. 10 years old and I already lost my credibility. But those of you that are students can't possibly know what your parents see when they look at you. I know what I'll always see when I look at my children. I'll see the night my mother passed away 3 years ago, God rest her soul, and we were sitting at the dinner table. My father had preceded her to what the great beyond, and I was a little shaken up. And I was sitting there, and my 3-year-old daughter, Samantha, who's now 6, 3 years old at the time, she said, Daddy, is Grandma going to come over anymore? And we're Christians. You can be Jews or Muslims or Buddhists. You would say something different, but we're Christians. I said, no, honey, Grandma's not going to come over anymore. She went to live with Jesus. My daughter turned to me and said, he never comes over. And I will remember that on my deathbed, because she made me smile, and she made me laugh, and she let me cry. So when your parents look at you all misty-eyed today, I want you to understand that in their hearts, your parents know what they did right. And believe me, students, your parents and your guardians know the times when they didn't live up to the high goals and aspirations. You've got to have a license in America to drive a car or own a dog. But to have children, you just got to be in love. Now, I know that bothers the students, that thinking about you parents being in love really bothers them. So I'll give you students about 10 seconds to think about that. See how quiet they got? Oh, goodness. 5 things I came to tell you, and I'm going to sit down and then we're going to get on with what's important. Number 1, I want you to think. Your brain is the greatest organ that God put in your head, and I know the male students always have other options that they raise up as a possibility. But I will assure you, Jew or Gentile, male or female, black or white, that your brain is the greatest organ in your body. For God's sakes, use it. I want you to think, and I want you to ask why, and I want you to reason, and I want you to understand that people all over the world need to be fed, and need to be housed, and need to be loved. And that doesn't depend on their skin color, what they do in their private life, or what their politics are. You got to get out into the community and think, what can I do to make a difference? Because you have asked them 3 questions to teach them about who was sitting with them. Number 1, how many of you, I said, like me, come from a home where there's a divorce? And 3/4 of them at the time raised their hands. How many of you, like me, come from a home, I said, where there's alcoholism or have a good friend that does? And 3/4 of them raised their hands. I said, how many of you know somebody who's contemplated suicide? And all of them raised their hands. And then I asked the students of color, how many of you that are black or Asian or Hispanic, how many of you have not read something horrible written about you on a public place somewhere? And there wasn't one student of color that raised his or her hand. I want you to feel the pain. And I want you to feel the joy of today. And I want you to be joyful. But I also want you to understand that if there were 10,000 people in the world, students, 2 of them would be Americans, and those 2 would control 80% of the wealth and goods. The other 80% of the people that are out there, the billions of people, are getting tired of watching us worry about Lexus or Infinity when they don't have milk to put in their babies' mouths. I want you to think, and then I want you to feel. Number 3, I want you to hope. I want you to hope. And faculty, if you've done one thing, if you've instilled hope in these students, you've done your job. I want you to be so hopeful about your future. When you leave here and somebody says, how was Eastern Connecticut State University? I want you to say, it was fabulous. Look. I want you to pick the 1 or 2 or 10 things you loved about the place and tell people about it. And I want you to imagine a future that's bright, because it is. Number 4, I want you to act. I want you to get busy. And mothers and fathers, do not go home and dust off the trophies, create a shrine to these people, and move them home. Unless they need to. And then let them home for a while. But you keep nudging them like a mother eagle takes her eaglets to the edge of the nest. Every once in a while they have to go, get up. You can fly because these people have wings. But they'll stay in your nest, some of them, as long as they can. You keep dropping them little half-digested fish in their mouth, they'll stay. I want you to act. I want you to get busy. I want you to understand that I have a vested interest in your future. I'm leaving my 4 brilliant children in a world you're going to be in charge of. I want my daughters to walk around at night and not have to look over their shoulder because they're afraid of what's going to happen to them. I want my son to have friends that are African American and not have some nitwit drive by in a pickup and yell something horrible at him. I want you to get busy making this world the place that you want to leave to your children. And finally, number 5, I beg with you, at the risk of sounding corny, I beg with you to learn to love. To love yourself, to love your neighbors, and to find something beyond yourself to love. Call it God, call it Allah, call it a cosmic muffin. It doesn't much matter to me. But find something that can elevate you up, that can be a source of strength in your life. Because I'm going to tell you something. Life's going to knock you on your knees. It's going to knock you down. And you're going to have some friends and family and some source of strength so you can mount up with wings like eagles. I want you to think, feel. I want you to hope. I want you to act. Most importantly, I want you to love. One of these days, friends, and the older people here know exactly what I'm saying. One of these days, it's going to dawn on you that we're working here without a net. The day the doctor spanked you on the bottom, you had 25,000 days left. Graduates, the least amount of days that you've lived to get here is 6,500. Those of you that are older than average students and have returned, don't do the math on this, you'll get depressed. But I want to tell you, you've got 18,500 days to make a masterpiece. I know how I want to be remembered. I'm going to be remembered as Dr. Will Keim, husband, which means I have to be faithful to my wife. Thank you. It's going to say father, which means I have to spend time with my children. That's right, brother. It's going to say teacher, which means I have to be away from my wife and children to spend time with you, my students. And number 4, it's going to say made peace with God. You've got 25,000 days to make a masterpiece. You've already spent a quarter of them at least. And what a blessing is that we can open our eyes and realize that anything we can imagine, anything we can envision, we can make happen when we learn to work together with each other, regardless of race, creed, color, national orientation, or sexual orientation. We can work together to create a world in which our children can go to bed at night and know they're loved, know they're fed, and know that they will be educated. I sent you out of there 4 years ago and told you to do some things. Those of you that are here did them. I'm going to leave you with this. Success, my good friends, is the peace of mind that comes from knowing you did the best you were capable of doing, and you're the only one that will ever know that. You can fool all the people all the time. Your parents think you went to every class. These faculty members thought when you were sitting in the front row writing, you were taking notes. But there's one person nobody on this field can fool, and who is that? That's right, sister, it's yourself. So be true to yourself so that every night when you go to bed, you can look in the mirror and say to that person looking back, you're doing a good job. And thank the good Lord, or whatever it is you believe in, that you had the opportunity to come to Eastern Connecticut State, meet the faculty, people like Dr. Carter, who work with you because they love you, who care about you, and are counting on you to go out from here and make a difference. God bless.